Good afternoon and welcome to the Moss Sanctuary in Mansfield. You'll see that the full name is the Albert E. Moss Forest, Wildflower and Wildlife Sanctuary. And we are off the Birchwood Terrace entrance, although there will be a couple more that I'll point out later on. Trying not to scare this deer off here. Hey buddy. Alright. You don't have to run. I'm not going to do anything. A couple of young whitetails. The short access trail connects us to the main loop around Tiff Pond, but we're going to backtrack real quick along a side path to an old foundation. You can see the roof appears to have collapsed here. We go around to what I assume was the front. You can see that it's likely a collapsed root cellar. But unfortunately, I don't have any information on when it dates to or who owned it. While I may not have definite information about that, there actually is a good amount about this area in general. It was farmland at least as early as 1840, owned by the Sullivan and Tift families, Tift being the one who gave the name to this pond. And one of those two had a home on the corner of Route 195 and Birchwood Terrace, nearby where we entered the trail. This is a man-made pond that was dug somewhere between 1846 and 1866 as an auxiliary power source for a silk mill. Oh wow, this is actually a new development for me. I haven't hiked this property in a bit, and they've actually removed a section of this dam here to probably lower the water level. So this man-made spillway looks like this today and used to look like this. Previously, you had the option to walk across the top of the spillway, but it looks like the best bet now is just to use this handy bridge built by the Connecticut Forest and Park Association. Now, if you were to follow this water about a mile downstream, you would reach the site of what was likely the first silk mill in the United States, dating back to 1810. And you know what? The roughly mile downstream, we get this spot along Hanks Hill Road, which was the site of the first silk mill. Not much to see other than the holding and retaining ponds, but cool little stop. Back at the Moss Sanctuary now, and at these nice little benches along the pond. The trail actually splits. Up here is the outer loop, which goes through the forest, and staying along the pond is the inner loop, which allows you to walk basically along the water the whole way. The next owner of the property was Yukon, who took over the property through a series of land exchanges in the 1950s. They're the ones who named it the Albert E. Moss Sanctuary, and that was named for Albert Moss, who was a professor in the College of Agriculture from 1914 to 1942. continuing on the outer loop, we reach this second entrance, which provides access to this sanctuary to residents of the Mansfield Apartments and students from E.O. Smith High School and University of Connecticut. Professor Moss was the one who planted these pines along this entrance, and he's also responsible for the spruce trees that are currently around Mirror Lake on UConn's campus. All right, now to continue the forested outer loop. Probably have to do some digital zoom, but there are some young turkeys. Yep, there they go. Good wildlife on this trip already. Not too far past that bridge, the trail turns here, but there is also this access trail, and that one connects to the Knollwood Apartments, so even more access to people who live in the surrounding area. The loop now continues up onto this hill. It's a gradual but steady climb, and I am scaring off more turkeys. It is a steady but gradual climb, and I always think that there's going to be a view. Probably when this was farmland and clear, there was a pretty nice one. But instead, you just reach this forested summit and head down the other side. I hope you can hear that owl. The outer loop works its way back around to where we got our first views of the pond. And I'm gonna jump on the inner loop next. I'd suggest you add it not just because it's nice to hike around the pond, but because there are only about 2 miles of trails here. I actually co-led a Walktober event here a couple years ago, doing a bit of the history of the area and some plant identification. And of the group who attended, there were several who had stories of hiking or camping or fishing here while they attended UConn. So I thought that was pretty cool to get their stories as well as sharing the ones that I had learned. One more peaceful view of the pond. And I should note that this is also a fishing area, although I don't know what the quality of the catch is like here. And I guess all that's left is to bring the history of the area up to the modern day. And I believe the University of Connecticut donated the land to the Connecticut Forest and Park Association, as evidenced by all the bridges along the loops here. And they turned around and either gave it or the town of Mansfield purchased it with a conservation restriction in 2010. They opened it as a town park in 2011, and it's been available to the public ever since. I had a great hike here, got a little bit of wildlife, plenty of forest, and unfortunately just a little bit too late in the year for wildflowers. So I hope that you come for a visit and you get your own slice of each in the Albert Moss Sanctuary. I'll see you next time.